We've talked a lot about particle accelerators that look for new physics, but sometimes you can teach new tricks to old physics. A great example of this is flash proton therapy for cancer treatment. That's just out of the laboratory and now being tested on patients in the first trials. Let's have a look. First things first, what does particle physics have to do with cancer? Well, one of the most common ways to treat cancer is radiation therapy with X-rays. So that's particles of light, the photons, with very high energy each. You can use these highly energetic photons to kill off cancer cells. The difficulty really isn't killing the cancer cells, it's killing the cancer cells without killing the patient. But the problem with using X-rays is that you can't shoot them at tumors inside the body without also burning some of the tissue on the way to the tumor and behind it. This is because the X-ray beam deposits its energy gradually in the tissue, sometimes too early and sometimes too late. One can somewhat alleviate this issue by rotating the beam around so that it overlaps most in the cancer region, but the problem that energy gets deposited where it shouldn't go is unavoidable. This can damage healthy cells and brings the risk of secondary cancers from the radiation treatment. That's if you use X-rays, but you can use beams of other particles instead, and this is where particle physics enters the chat. Because with heavier particles, you get a more targeted energy delivery. It's a case where a graph says more than 1,000 words, so let me draw one for you. On the vertical axis, you have a measure for the energy that's deposited into the tissue that's called the dose. On the horizontal axis, you have the length of the path in the tissue. For X-rays, the curve looks somewhat like this. It does have a peak where the beam deposits most of the energy, but it'll dump a significant amount over a pretty big stretch of distance. That's the problem, which damages healthy tissue. But if you instead take a beam of protons, the energy deposit in the tissue looks like this. A proton, just to remind you, is the nucleus of a hydrogen atom and is what the Large Hadron Collider collides. You see that a beam of protons is far less likely to interact with tissue on short distances, then the energy deposit peaks rather suddenly and tapers off quickly. The peak in this curve is called the Bragg peak. It's named after the father and son duo Sir William Henry Bragg and Sir William Lawrence Bragg, who were British physicists. They were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1915 for work related to this peak. I guess that was the Bragg peak of their career. What's going on with this Bragg peak is that the protons slow down as they lose energy, whereas light doesn't. So you see, the heavier particles bump into one atom in the tissue and lose a little energy there. Then the distance they cover until they hit the next atom is shorter because they're slower, and then it gets even shorter until they've dumped all their energy. What happens with the protons in the end? They usually get absorbed by some nuclei. Isn't that kind of bad? Yes, it's kind of bad, but remember, you're doing this to destroy the tumor cells. It's supposed to be bad, just that it should be bad in the right place. The relevant thing is that what's left behind is mostly benign biological trash that the body can dispose of. Interestingly, if you take even heavier particles, the Bragg peak gets even more pronounced at a very specific distance. You could use, for example, nuclei of carbon atoms. You see how cool this is? You can basically use these beams to shoot at the tumor inside the body without roasting the tissue on the way there. The idea isn't new. For example, at the GSI in Germany, they ran a trial for using beams of carbon ions to treat cancer already in 1997. Mostly that's brain tumors where you want to make extra sure you don't damage surrounding tissue. This sounds great, so why isn't this done more often? The issue is that the bigger the particle, the bigger the accelerator you need to get them up to speed, and the more expensive and difficult the entire procedure becomes. This is why proton therapy is still rather uncommon, and that with heavy ions even less common. But particle accelerators are getting more efficient and smaller and also more affordable, and that's why proton therapy is now being offered in more places. For example, the company Varian Medical Systems offers a proton proton beam machine for medical purposes at $20 million a pop. At Ohio State University, they just recently acquired a machine of the same type, and last week they announced that they'll be testing a new treatment procedure called flash proton therapy. The idea of flash proton therapy is that rather than irradiating the tumor continuously for a few minutes, the same total dose is delivered packed into pulses lasting only a second or so. So the flashes. Doctors have known for some time that this seems to work better in that it delivers the damage more precisely to the tumor region. But they don't really understand why, and the treatment method has only been out of the lab for a few years. There's a surprising amount of physics in medical treatments, and personally I find this flash proton procedure one of the best examples. I've lost relatives to cancer, and shooting the enemy with particle beams is just how I like it. I used to find it hard to make sense of all the headlines I saw each day. Everyone, it seems, wants to put their own spin on it, and it's difficult to find reliable sources. But my news reading has become so much better with Ground News, who've been sponsoring this video. Ground News is a news platform that provides you with a lot of extra information that you don't find in the standard media. They'll show you right away how much the story has been covered by left-leaning, center or right-leaning sources. It also tells you which of those stories are of high factuality and which not, which is really super useful. And if you click here, you'll get a world map that shows you where this news has been covered. Ground News also has this cool feature which they call Blind Spot. It shows you news which have been covered almost exclusively by one side of the political spectrum and has been ignored by the other. Ground News works both on the web and comes with a phone app. It was founded in 2018 by a former NASA engineer, and I really think they're onto something. If you want to give it a try yourself, use our link ground.news/Sabine so they'll know I sent you. This'll get you a big discount on their Vantage plan with access to all their features. Ground News is an independent news platform on a mission to make the media landscape more transparent, which is something that we can all benefit from. So go and check this out. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.